Welcome back. Pull up a seat. We need to talk about monsters. This video is about the Hagravens of Skyrim, the twisted bird women who rule the Forsworn camps and strike terror into anyone who crosses their paths. But more specifically, it is about what it costs to become one. You have seen them in the game, hunched figures with raven feathers and taloned hands, hurling fireballs from the depths of corrupted caves. But have you ever stopped to wonder what they were before? They were witches, once. Human women who traded everything they were for power they thought they needed. They underwent a ritual so horrifying that it transforms not just their bodies, but their minds and souls. And once the transformation is complete, there is no going back. They gain magic beyond imagination, but they lose their capacity for human connection. They gain immortality, but they lose themselves. They become matriarchs to the Forsworn, but they become monsters in the process. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. I need you to listen. Not because I want sympathy, not because I expect understanding, but because someone should know what happens when you reach for power without counting the cost. Someone should know what it feels like when your bones crack and reshape themselves into something that was never meant to walk this earth. My name used to matter. It was Liara. I was 23 winters old when I made my choice. 23 winters of being powerless, invisible, dismissed. I lived in a small village on the edge of the Reach, where women like me had two options: marry a warrior who would eventually die in some pointless skirmish with the Nords, or waste away as a healer gathering herbs until your hands were too gnarled to work anymore. Neither path offered power, neither path offered respect. I met the coven when I was 19. They found me after my brother was killed by Imperial soldiers. He was 14 years old. He threw a rock at them. They ran him through with a sword and left his body in the dirt like he was nothing. Like we were nothing. The rage I felt that day was a living thing inside my chest. It screamed for release. It demanded justice. But I had no magic, no strength, no way to make the world pay attention. The witches came to me in the night, 3 women with knowing eyes and secrets written in the lines of their faces. They told me about power, real power, the kind that makes men fear you instead of dismiss you, the kind that lets you reshape the world according to your will. They told me about the matriarchs, the Hagravens, the ancient ones who led the Forsworn and commanded respect through sheer, terrible presence. I should have asked more questions. I should have demanded to see what they truly looked like. But I was young and angry and desperate. When you are drowning, you do not question the hand that reaches down to pull you up. You simply grab it and hold on. The coven taught me the basics first: how to mix potions that could heal or harm, how to speak to the spirits in the stones and trees, how to draw power from the blood of animals. I was good at it. Better than good. The magic sang in my veins like it had always belonged there. For 2 years I studied, practiced, grew stronger. The other witches watched me with something like pride. They said I had potential. They said I could be more. That was when they told me about the initiation. Every coven has its true leaders. The Hagravens are not simply old witches who grew powerful. They are something else entirely. Something changed. To join their ranks, a witch must undergo a ritual that strips away her humanity and replaces it with raw, primal magic. The power of a Hagraven is immense. They can call down fire from the sky. They can transform into a murder of crows and attack from every direction at once. They can create Briarhearts, warriors who return from death itself to serve the cause. But the ritual requires sacrifice. Not just metaphorical sacrifice. Real sacrifice. Human sacrifice. They explained it to me in clinical terms. One life taken to fuel the transformation. A willing participant, though they need not know the true purpose. Soul gems to capture and redirect the energy. A Skiva corpse, because even in death, small creatures carry the spark of transformation. And most importantly, the absolute willingness of the witch herself. You cannot be forced to become a Hagraven. You must choose it. You must want it more than you want to remain human. I thought about it for weeks. I walked through the forests, at night, arguing with myself. Was it worth it? Could I really kill someone? Could I really give up my human form? My human face? But then I would remember my brother bleeding in the dirt. I would remember the way the Imperial soldiers laughed. As they walked away, I would remember every slight, every dismissal, every time someone looked through me like I did not exist. Yes, I decided. Yes, it was worth it. Finding the sacrifice was easier than I expected. There are always people in this world who trust too easily. I found a traveler, a merchant from Cyrodiil who had wandered too far from the main roads. I told him I knew a shortcut. I told him I could help him find a place to shelter for the night. He smiled at me like I was harmless, like I was just another woman he could charm with pleasant words and false kindness. He sat in the chair at the center of the ritual site, and he never saw it coming. The ritual began at midnight, when the moons hung low and full. 4 of my sister witches formed a circle around the altar. The man was bound to the chair, still unconscious from the herbs I had slipped into his wine. The Skiva corpse lay at my feet, already beginning to rot. The soul gems gleamed in the candlelight like captured stars. Everything was ready. The eldest witch spoke the words first. Ancient words in a language older than the Nords, older than the Dwemer, older than anything that walks Skyrim now. She called to the old gods, to the spirits of the Reach, to the dark things that live in the spaces between life and death. She asked them to witness. She asked them to judge. She asked them to grant transformation. Then she looked at me. Do you choose this freely? Do you understand what you will lose? Do you accept the price? I said yes. What do you think really happened here? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would like to know if I am the only one who feels this way. The knife was, in my hand, silver blade, bone handle, sharp enough to part flesh like water. I walked to the bound man. He was starting to wake up, eyes fluttering, confusion spreading across his face. For a moment, I hesitated. For just one heartbeat, I thought about stopping, about walking away, about remaining human. But then I remembered why I was here. I remembered my brother. I remembered the powerlessness. I remembered the rage, and I pushed the knife forward. Blood is warm when it first leaves the body, warmer than you would expect. It steamed in the cold night air as it poured over my hands. The man gasped once, twice, then went still. His soul tore free and the gems blazed with sudden light. The energy crackled through the air like lightning. I could taste copper and magic and death. The witches began to chant. Their voices rose and fell in patterns that made reality bend at the edges. They cut open the skiva and spread its entrails in careful designs around the altar. They placed the soul gems on my body at specific points: forehead, heart, hands, feet. Each one burned like ice when it touched my skin. Then the pain started. It was not gradual. It was not gentle. It hit me like a warhammer to the chest and drove me to my knees. Every bone in my body began to break. Not all at once, but slowly, methodically, one after another. I felt my fingers crack and reform, felt the bones in my feet splinter and reshape. My legs twisted, lengthening in some places, shortening in others. My spine curved and bent in ways that should have killed me. I screamed until my throat bled. But the ritual would not stop, could not stop. I had chosen this. I had said yes, and now the transformation would run its course whether I survived it or not. My skin began to change. It tightened, then loosened, then tightened again. It turned pale as snow, then grey as ash. I watched my hands as they transformed. 4 fingers now instead of 5. Long talons growing where my nails used to be. Black feathers pushing through the skin of my forearms like dark grass breaking through earth. The worst part was my face. Felt my skull shift. The bones of my face cracked and reformed. My nose hooked, curving downward into something sharp and predatory. My eyes changed last. I felt them darken, the color draining away until they were solid black, empty, inhuman. I could still see, but everything looked different now. Sharper, colder, like I was seeing the world through a layer of ice. The feathers came next. They erupted from my scalp, pushing through where my hair had been. Black raven feathers, coarse and oily. They sprouted from my shoulders, my arms, my legs. They bound themselves to my shins and forearms with strips of my own changing skin. I looked down at my body and saw a twisted thing. Part woman, part bird, part something else entirely, something that should not exist. The transformation took 3 hours, 3 hours of agony so complete that I lost the ability to form coherent thoughts. When it finally ended, I collapsed onto the stone floor and lay there gasping. My lungs worked differently now. Everything worked differently. I tried to stand and my new legs buckled. The balance was all wrong. I was taller now, but hunched, powerful, but grotesque. The other witches stared at me in silence. Even they, who had seen this ritual before, could not hide the horror in their eyes. One of them brought me a mirror, polished bronze, old and tarnished. I held it up with my new taloned hands and looked at my reflection. I did not recognize the creature staring back at me. Where Liara had been, there was now a monster. Grey skin stretched over sharp bones, scraggly feathers where hair should be, black eyes that reflected no light, a hooked nose and a mouth that seemed too wide, too full of teeth. I opened my mouth to scream, and the sound that came out was wrong, too harsh, too raw, like a raven's cry filtered through a human throat. The power came with the transformation. I felt it immediately. Magic thrummed through my veins like a second heartbeat. I could sense every living thing around me, birds in the trees, insects in the ground, the remaining witches standing in their circle. I could reach out and touch the fabric of reality itself. Fire answered my call without words. Ice formed at my command. The very air bent to my will. This was what I had wanted. This was what I had sacrificed for. Ultimate power. The ability to make the world listen. The strength to ensure no one would ever dismiss me again. But I could not stop looking at my reflection. Could not stop seeing the thing I had become. The coven kept me for 3 more days while I learned to control my new body. Walking was difficult at first. My legs bent differently now. My feet ended in talons that scraped against stone. I kept losing my balance, kept falling. The other witches watched with barely concealed pity. They remembered their own transformations, I suppose. Remembered what it felt like to lose your humanity one piece at a time. They taught me to speak properly. My voice was different now, deeper and more grating. Words came harder. Complex sentences felt clumsy in my mouth. I noticed I was forgetting things, small things at first. The name of a flower I used to love. The melody my mother sang when I was young. The exact shade of blue the sky turns just before sunset. It frightened me more than the physical changes. On the 4th day, I left the coven. They did not ask me to stay. Hagravens do not truly belong to covens anymore. We are solitary creatures, by nature, driven by instincts that have nothing to do with sisterhood or community. I felt the pull to find my own territory, my own lair, somewhere I could rule without interference. I found a cave system in the Reach, not far from where I grew up. It was occupied by a family of bears. I killed them without hesitation, without mercy. I did not even think about it until after their blood stained the cave floor. Then I stood there, looking at the mother bear's corpse, and realized something had changed inside my mind. The rage that had driven me to seek power was still there, but it was colder now, more calculated, less human. I decorated my new home the way Hagravens do. Spriggans were easy to hunt and their deaths pleased me in ways I did not fully understand. I mounted their heads on stakes around the entrance, hung their taproots in nets from the ceiling. The Forsworn would see these signs and know what I was, know that I was powerful, know that I could offer them what they needed. They came within a week. A group of 6 warriors, all men, all scarred from constant fighting with the Nords. They knelt before me and called me matriarch. They asked for my guidance, my magic, my strength. They offered their loyalty in exchange for power, for the ability to strike back at those who had taken their homeland. I looked at them and felt nothing. No kinship, no solidarity, no shared purpose, just a cold assessment of their usefulness. These were tools, resources, bodies that could be shaped and used for my purposes. When had I started thinking this way? When had I stopped seeing people as people? But I gave them what they wanted. I taught them the old rituals. I showed them how to honor the spirits of the Reach. I crafted weapons blessed with dark magic. And when the strongest among them asked to become a Briarheart, I performed the ritual without hesitation. Creating a Briarheart is different from becoming a Hagraven, but no less terrible. The warrior must be willing, must offer his heart freely. We laid him on an altar under the open sky. I spoke the ancient words, while another Hagraven I had called for assistance held the tools. We cut open his chest while he was still conscious, still aware. His screams echoed through the mountains as we reached inside and pulled out his beating heart. It was warm in my taloned hand, pulsing, alive. I set it aside in a bowl and reached for the Briarheart, a seed of twisted magical plant, matter that should not exist in nature. We placed it in the empty cavity of his chest, bound it with leather straps and magic, spoke the words that would bind his spirit to the seed instead of his human heart. Heart of thorn, bones of the wild, in life forsworn, rise from death, blood of our blood. He died. Then he rose again. The Briarheart stood up from the altar, a hole in his chest where his heart should be, the magical seed visible and pulsing with unnatural light. He was stronger now, faster, filled with magic and rage, and inhuman endurance. He would serve until the seed was removed or destroyed. He would fight without fear of death because he had already died once. He looked at me with gratitude and called me Mother. I felt nothing. If this story has kept you listening this far, and you want more of these dark confessions from Skyrim, hit that subscribe button. It tells me someone out there is still paying attention to warnings like these. The years passed. I do not know how many anymore. Time feels different when you are a Hagraven. Days blend together. Seasons lose their meaning. I stopped aging in the human sense, but I continued to change in other ways. My mind grew sharper in some areas and duller in others. I could calculate trajectories for spells with perfect precision, but I struggled to remember why I had wanted power in the first place. The Forsworn came and went. I led them, guided them, created more Briarhearts when the warriors proved worthy. They feared me and revered me in equal measure. They brought me offerings, fresh eyeballs, which I discovered I craved with an intensity that disgusted the small, part of me that remembered being human. Hearts, souls trapped in gems, the spoils of their raids. I ruled my little kingdom from my cave and told myself this was what I wanted. But sometimes, late at night when the Forsworn were sleeping and I was alone, I would look at my taloned hands in the firelight and remember what they used to look like. Smooth skin, 5 fingers, nails that I used to paint with berry juice because it made me feel pretty. I would touch my face and feel the hard beak where my nose had been, run my claws through the feathers where my hair used to fall, and I would wonder if I had made the right choice. The isolation crept in slowly, so slowly I did not notice it at first. The Forsworn respected me, yes, but they did not love me. How could they? I was not one of them anymore. Not really. I was their weapon, their spiritual guide, their connection to the old powers. But I was not their sister, not their friend. I was the matriarch, the Hagraven, the thing in the cave that they needed but could never truly embrace. Other Hagravens existed throughout the Reach. I encountered them occasionally when our territories overlapped, or when we needed to work together for complex rituals. But we did not form bonds. We circled each other like predators, assessing threats and calculating advantages. There was no warmth between us, no kinship, just cold recognition of what we had all become. I began to understand that this was part of the curse. The transformation did not just change your body, it changed your capacity for connection, for love, for all the small human emotions that make life bearable. I could still feel rage. I could feel hunger. I could feel the satisfaction of power wielded effectively. But joy, tenderness, the simple pleasure of a shared laugh with a friend, those were gone, stripped away with my human form, sacrificed on the altar of power. There were moments when the loss felt unbearable. I would see a mother, forsworn woman, nursing her child and something would twist in my chest. An echo of emotion I no longer fully possessed. I would watch the warriors laugh around their campfires and feel something that might have been loneliness if I still remembered what loneliness felt like. But then I would flex my talons and call fire from the air and remember why I had made this choice: power, respect, the ability to never be helpless again. Those things were real. Those things mattered. The rest was just sentimentality, weakness, the kind of thinking that kept women powerless and afraid. Except sometimes, in the darkest hours, I wondered if I was lying to myself. I started hunting more aggressively, Spriggans mostly, because their deaths satisfied something primal in me. Nature spirits, guardians of the forests, creatures of life and growth. I hated them. I hated their purity, their purpose, their untainted existence. So I hunted them down and mounted their heads on stakes, hung their roots from trees, made sure everyone knew that this was my territory and I had conquered it. The Forsworn called it strength. I called it necessary. But in the quiet moments, I recognized it for what it really was: rage. Endless, bottomless rage that had nowhere else to go. I had gotten my revenge on the Imperials who killed my brother. I had hunted them down one by one in the years after my transformation. I had burned them alive and listened to them scream. But the rage had not left. It had only grown colder, more diffuse. Now it pointed at everything. At the world itself, for being the way it was. One day, a young witch came to my cave. She could not have been more than 20. She had heard stories about me, about the power I possessed. She wanted to know if the rumors were true, if a woman could really transform herself into something stronger, something feared. I looked at her and saw myself, 23 winters old and desperate for power, angry at the world and willing to do anything to change it. She had the same fire in her eyes that I had once possessed, the same reckless determination. I should have warned her, should have told her the truth about what she would lose, should have shown her my reflection in the bronze mirror and asked if this was really what she wanted to become. But I did not. I could not find the words. Or perhaps I did not want to admit that the transformation had been a mistake. So I told her about the ritual, about the requirements, about the power she would gain. I watched her eyes light up with hunger and hope, and I said nothing about the cost, about the isolation, about watching your humanity drain away like water through your fingers until you cannot remember what it felt like to be whole. She thanked me and left. I do not know if she went through with it. I hope she did not, but I suspect she did. If you have ever wondered what choice you would make in a situation like this, tell me in the comments. I will be reading them. The thing about immortality is that it gives you too much time to think. Hagravens do not age the way humans do. We can be killed, certainly. A sword through the heart or enough magic will end us. But time itself cannot touch us. We persist, we endure, we watch the world change around us while we remain frozen in our monstrous forms. I have been a Hagraven for longer than I was human. Now, decades have passed. The Forsworn warriors I knew in my early years are all dead. Their children and grandchildren serve me now, but they do not know I once had a name, that I once had a brother, that I once painted my nails with berry juice and dreamed of simple things like love and safety. Sometimes I try to remember Liara, the girl I used to be, but she feels like someone else, a character in a story I heard once. I know the facts of her life. I remember the events, but I cannot feel what she felt anymore, cannot access the emotions that drove her decisions. It is like reading about a stranger. Is that growth, or is it loss? I wish I knew. The worst part is the dreams. Yes, Hagraven's dream. We sleep less than humans, but we still sleep. And in those rare moments of vulnerability, I dream of being human again. I dream of smooth skin and 5 fingers and eyes that reflect light properly. I dream of walking into a village and having people smile at me instead of flee in terror. I dream of holding someone's hand and feeling warmth instead of just calculating their usefulness as a sacrifice. Then I wake up and remember what I am, what I chose to become. And the grief that washes over me is so intense, it feels like drowning. But it passes. It always passes. Because I am not human anymore. Human emotions do not last in this body. They slide off like water off a raven's wing. Within minutes, the grief fades, and I am left with cold calculation again. Assessment. Planning. The eternal question of how to maintain my power and territory. Do I regret my choice? Some days, yes. On the days when I remember what laughter sounded, like coming from my own throat. When I see mothers with their children and feel the ghost of longing for something I can never have. When I look at my reflection and see the monster I have become. But other days, no. On the days when I wield magic that could level a small town. When Forsworn warriors kneel before me and call me matriarch. When I remember what it felt like to be powerless and dismissed and invisible. On those days, I tell myself the sacrifice was worth it. The truth is probably somewhere in between. I gained power beyond my wildest dreams. I gained respect and fear and the ability to shape the world according to my will. But I lost myself in the process. Lost Liara. Lost the capacity for joy and love and all the small things that make life worth living. Was it a fair trade? I do not know anymore. I stopped being able to judge fairness when I stopped being human. All I know is that the choice is irreversible. The ritual can supposedly be undone, but only with divine intervention. Kain herself would have to reach down and restore what was lost. And why would she? Why would any god help a creature like me? So I remain. I endure. I rule my cave and my Forsworn and my small piece of the Reach. I create Briarhearts and hunt, Spriggans and call down fire from the sky. I am powerful. I am feared. I am respected. I am alone, and I will be alone forever. That is the true price of becoming a Hagraven, not the physical transformation, not the loss of beauty or human form, but the isolation, the slow erosion of everything that makes existence bearable. You gain the power to change the world, but you lose the ability to connect with it. You become something ancient and terrible and utterly, completely alone. If I could speak to my younger self, the girl with berry-stained fingers and rage in her heart, would I warn her away? Would I tell her to find another path? To accept powerlessness rather than pay this price? I do not know. Even now, after all these years, I do not know. Maybe that uncertainty is the most human thing left in me. The only piece of Liara that still survives in this twisted form. The doubt. The endless gnawing question of whether I made the right choice. I tell myself that doubt is weakness, that a true Hagraven would feel no regrets. But late at night, when the Forsworn are sleeping and I am alone with my thoughts and my bronze mirror, I allow myself to wonder. I allow myself to grieve. And then the sun rises, and I am the matriarch. Again. Powerful, feared, inhuman. This is what I chose. This is what I am. And I will carry this burden until someone finally puts a sword through my heart or a spell through my skull. That is the life of a Hagraven. That is the price of power. That is the warning I leave for anyone foolish enough to follow the same path. Choose carefully. Because once you make this choice, there is no going back. You will gain everything you thought you wanted, and you will lose everything that actually mattered. Remember my story. Remember Liara. Remember what happens when you reach for power without counting the cost. And if you must become a monster to survive this world, at least go into it with your eyes open. At least know what you are sacrificing. At least understand that the power you gain will never fill the void where your humanity used to be. That is all I have left to say. My confession is complete. Do with it what you will.